Welcome everyone to the Yo Bro Gaming and Reviews. I'm Zach,
I'm Wayne.
and I'm not going to tell you about the conversation we started out with before we hit record. This is our review for The Flash Season 2, or Season 3, episode... No, this is Season 2. I'm going to start that over. This is our review for The Flash Season 2, Episode 11, titled The Reverse Flash Returns. We're going to go over what happened. This will have spoilers, so if you haven't watched it, don't watch this video. But we'll go over what happened in the episode. We'll talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. So this episode starts out with a monologue by Barry as he's running through the streets talking about how sometimes people run for whatever reasons, and then sometimes they run to get away from things. And he's basically avoiding Patty in this because if you watched last week's episode, Patty's leaving for Midwest City to go to school to be CSI.
CIA.
No, CSI.
Oh, I thought it was CIA.
She's going to be on one of those garbage TV shows after this. Yeah! So, they're talking about finding a... Dr. Wells and Cisco are talking about getting the Flash to stop Zoom by getting Zoom to slow down by using the turtle. Well, Caitlin and Jay found him dead. So there goes Plan A.
Mm-hmm.
So they have Barry come back, and then they're all talking about it and trying to basically figure out what to do. You end up seeing Patty coming to the office where Barry's working on his case files for Central City Police Department. And she tries talking to him about leaving, and she's just kind of like, this is how it's going to be. This isn't, how I imagined this would be. And he's just like, what did you imagine? You're leaving. There's nothing to talk about. Well, Iris walks in and says, I kind of heard some of that. He's like, yeah, she's leaving. What can I do? She's like, well, maybe she doesn't have to leave. Talk to her. Then Joe comes in and says he's going to go see Francine, which, if you didn't know, is Joe's ex-wife who left for 20 years. And says he's going to go see her, that she's getting worse, and that he wanted Iris to come with. We see Dr. Wells talking to Cisco about his vibes and how maybe he could learn to control them. And they try to figure out how they work, what triggers them. Well, Dr. Wells figures it out, and he has him go to the time room. He has Cisco show up, and he's dressed up in the Reverse Flash get-up, and he figures out that it's fear that triggers it. It's the adrenaline that he gets. So he touches him, and Cisco sees a premonition, gets a vibe of Reverse Flash attacking some security guards somewhere. So then we see Reverse Flash doing what he does, trying to take Dr. McGee. Well, he shows up. He stops him from getting Dr. McGee at first, but he's like, oh my God, this is Reverse Flash. How'd you get here? We phased you out of time last season. Well, he didn't say that. But they got rid of him. And he says, well, I know what period of time you're in. He's basically been watching him, through the first part of this episode. And he says that he knows he's going to die soon. So he ends up knocking Barry down and ends up taking Dr. McGee with him because he wants her to help him get home using some vortex machine. Looks kind of like the Stargate machine almost. Mm-hmm. So when they get back to Star Labs, Dr. Wells explains to them how he's still there. Joe's there. They're all there. He says, this is our point in time. Here's where he was born, and this is the point where he ends up. He says, no matter what you do, he explained it in a way that I can't because I'm not smart enough to explain that.
You're not smarticles enough?
I am not smarticles, okay?
You didn't get a good education?
My education is horrible, man. Then they start getting, Caitlin talks to Barry about Jay's condition, how after his speedster power was taken away, it messed with him on a cellular level. No, I'm not talking about a phone, I'm talking about DNA, okay? I'm sure everyone watching us is smarter than we are. Probably. And says that maybe if they find his doppelganger, she can replace his, his messed up genes and messed up DNA and swap it out with fresh, good DNA.
Almost doppelganger.
Yeah. So they start looking for him. You see Reverse Flash talking to Dr. McGee and explains to her that, how the machine would work and how it could get him home. And She says, well, I don't know how to do that. And his hand just starts kind of like this, but in a smaller spot, just like this.
Can't see me.
He says, well, if you want to get home, or if you want to live, you'll fix it. I mean, I'm going to say this. I liked seeing Reverse Flash in this episode, and it was a one-off. I'm sure maybe he'll pop up. I thought last week when we saw him come back, I thought he was like the Earth 2 Reverse Flash, but he's not. He's actually Earth 1. He's just still around. And again, Dr. Wells explains that because Dr. Wells is a freaking genius. So you see Iris at the hospital with Joe, and they went to see Francine, and he leaves, them to talk. And she talks about how, you need to forgive people and tell people what you're thinking when you have the time. So and I will say, I was not a fan of Iris up to this point, but in this episode, the emotion that you got from her, the conversation, and the things that she says to the lady playing her mom, the actress, bravo. It was beautiful. She did really well. And I'll touch on a little bit more on our likes, but she tells her that, she has memories of her being a kid, and they were all good memories, but now she can't help but wonder what it'd be like if her and Wally was with them, and how she only wishes she would have came back sooner so she could have forgave her then, just like she's forgiven her now. And then she runs out of the room crying. It was a beautiful moment. You just see Joe looking at her, and she's like, I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. I barely know her, and they embrace him. Joe is Father of the Year. I'm telling you. So then you see Caitlin and Barry talking again. They're running this thing to do face recognition and trying to find Jay's doppelganger. Patty shows back up, and she tries to get Barry to just, talk to her. And he's like, why are you acting this way? He's like, I've had so many people I love and care about leave my life. I'm just used to it. She's like, you never told me you loved me. He's like, well, I guess I'll never have the chance. And she's just kind of like, I guess not. Like, they kept teasing at this conversation, and one of them would always leave, and they just ignore each other. It kind of became a pain. I'm just like, So then Wells is like, okay, we're going to learn how to control your vibes. So he makes these really cool glasses. I totally want these things. They're badass. He says, now you can control what you see and for how long. Cisco puts it on. He finds where Reverse Flash is. He ends up getting a time. So, he's telling him, he ended up going back to the future. But then they realized that the time that he left was 3 hours later than what they are. So he actually got to see into the future.
And these glasses are kind of like Cerebro from X-Men.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Just cooler. So you see Joe and Patty talking. We've already established that they have to find him and where Reverse Flash is. That's what Team Flash has to do. But anyways, Joe and Patty talking. He's saying, hey, it's been nice to work with you. Gonna miss you. And she's like, yo, it's nice someone did. It's like, are we talking about Barry? I get the feeling we're talking about Barry. Dude who plays Joe. I'm apologizing, I don't know his name. He is such a class, unlike everyone else in this show. Every episode, he delivers. But she says, I was going through old case files that you guys worked on because I heard you all worked through Star Labs. And it's like, it's funny. They're all about the Flash, and they all seem to have things that he shouldn't know unless, and she drops the bomb, he is the Flash. She's like, Barry's the Flash. And Joe's like, have you seen him run? I mean, no way he's the Flash. It's like, you told me I had to, be able to lie to get through in this job. She's like, and you're a terrible liar. She called Joe out, and Joe's just like, no, he's not the Flash. No.
Not at all.
So we see Iris at the shop talking to Wally. He's working on a car. I guess he's putting NOS and nitrous and stuff into it. And she's like,
cheater.
Right? She's like, you're going to get caught eventually. And they talk about, she went and saw their mom and how she forgave her and how she thinks that he's mad at her. He's like, why wouldn't I be mad? She lied to me for 20 years. If all of a sudden I find out I have a dad and a sister. She's like, I get that. She's like, but I had the same thing. I have a mom and I have a brother. It's like, but even I forgave her. And then she talks about, what happened in the first season with her and how she didn't get a chance to say things that she wanted to and how she did now and how she thinks Wally should, but Wally just kind of walks away. So Joe shows up at Star Lab, and he tells Barry, hey, Patty figured out you're the Flash. Maybe you should tell her she's trustworthy. And I understand why Barry didn't. He's like, well, I don't want to know because I don't want someone else at Zoom or a metahuman or someone else can use against me to hurt somebody that I care about.
Ah, the classic superhero cliche.
Right. But then they found out where Reverse Flash was. So Barry rushes over there. He's about to do the thing with his hand. So he ends up running into him, and he's like, you know, he broke the thing. The Stargate portal got broken, so he can't send him back to the future. Pun. And then it cuts to commercial. When they come back from commercial, he ends up chasing Reverse Flash, catching him, beating him up. They're like, no, bring him back. And they throw him into the freaking thing where they used to hold Wells. The one that they held in Reverse Flash last season. Jay and Caitlin are talking, and she explains that they were looking for the doppelganger. And he's like, well, we'll talk about this, but we're going to do it at a park tomorrow. And she's like, okay. We're going to hold hands in the park? Mm-hmm. Wells explains how if they talk to Reverse Flash, they're going to mess with the timeline and they're going to change things up, and it's going to have effects that are going to be bad. We already know this. We watched last season.
I mean, you know, typical timeline BS.
Right, you know, Doctor Who shit. So Cisco goes down there. He talks to him. He's like, well, who are you? He's like, I'm the guy who helped find you. I'm the guy who saw what you did, and I'm the one who helped stop you. What's up? Like, came in and they're all like, mother... What's up? Right? But then his nose starts to bleed, and that leads into something real bad. Barry goes to Patty, because she texted him, and she tells him, hey, I know who you are. Don't lie to me. Just be honest with me. She's like, if you tell me that you're the Flash, I will stay. Now, at this point, I want this. I want her to stay. I've been waiting this whole episode for Barry, just like, you know what? You're right. I love you. I am the Flash. I want you to stay. But what does Barry do? I can't. I guess you're going to have to go because I'm not him. And the tears that welled up in this woman's eyes broke my freaking heart because she wanted so badly to stay and to fight crime with him. This woman was the perfect match for him. I don't want to see an Iris Barry thing. I wanted this. And I don't know if she'll come back before the season's over. I hope so. But man, she walked out of the room. It was sad. It was so sad. Anyways, Barry then goes down and he confronts the Reverse Flash, and he asks him, why do you hate me? He says, because I wanted to be the Flash, and then he realized that he couldn't. He says, for everyone that you save, for everyone that loves you, I knew I had to take as much, if not more, away from you, because I knew I could be the Flash, so I was everything you wasn't, or something like that. The dude delivered a great freaking line. And then Cisco starts having these real...
to be everything you weren't.
Right, exactly. Cisco starts having these seizures. He's seizing out bad, and Wells is like, look, he's affected the timeline. Something is happening to him. We have to fix him. We have to save him. Bear's like, how? He's like, we have to send Reverse Flash to the future. We have to. He's like, oh, they're like, look, Barry, you have to let him go. If this is going to save Cisco, you got to do this. And you can tell Barry was conflicted here. Like, no, I got this, mother. But you realize that he can't save his mom. There's nothing they can do. So Barry does the right thing. They take Reverse Flash out of the
holding cell,
and they send him. They send him to the future. And you could tell that broke Barry, that he didn't want to do that. Kind of felt for him. But you get explained by Wells, like, this is the moment where he learns everything about you guys. This is where he figures out who you are. This is where it all begins for him. This is his origin story. And Barry's like, I could send him 3 centuries in the future, and I'll never forget about him. Because they're telling me, maybe you can just move on with your life here. This is your moment. So they send him back. They open up the portal. Cisco ends up coming out of the coma, the seizure, and he's okay. Everything is fine. He's back to normal. Jay and Caitlin end up going to the park, and he explains to them that he did search for his doppel, and he found him, and he has some totally different name, and he never became metahuman. He never got the Speed Force. And he says, so basically, his DNA is mutated. There's no way that they can fix him that way. And the only way to fix him is to get Zoom and to get him to restore his powers. So Caitlin, we'll find it.
Don't
Iris,
ever do that again.
Iris opens her door, and you see Wally West, and he says, I'm going to take your advice. I understand where you were coming from. He says, but I want you to come with me. So they have a brother-sister bonding moment, and it was so adorable. I'm being totally sarcastic right now. Cisco wakes up, and they're talking about getting Belly Burger, and everyone's like, Cisco's okay. And Barry starts walking, and Joe talks to him about, you got to make sacrifice and this, and we know 100 years from now, you're still doing what you're doing now. And Barry said, yeah, I'm prepared. And he gets a phone call, and it's Patty. She's like, I'm on the train leaving, and there's a man on this bus with a gun. I need help. He's like, I'll send someone. And then he shows up, and he's a Flash. Turns out it was a false alarm. Patty just wanted him to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And
that way she could tell him goodbye for one more time.
Right. And he's like, okay, before I go, I just want to make sure everything's okay. And she's like, yeah, everything's good. And you see, he looks at her, and again, this just breaks my heart. I don't know if we're going to see Patty again, but he speeds off, and she's like, he sits back down looking out the window, and goodbye, Barry. It's just, I don't know. But that was basically the plot. Now we're going to talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. And I'll start with you, Wayne. What did you like most about this episode?
I like Patty. I like her character. She's really nice, even though Barry wants to tell her that he's the Flash. He won't, but she ends up finding out anyway because she's as smart as Dr. Wells, in my opinion.
So you're saying basically for a second straight we can know Patty character is what you liked most about this episode.
Yeah.
I have a few things that I like. I hope I didn't cut you off.
No, you're good.
I also like Patty. I liked how she portrayed her character in this episode. I like how Iris evolved as a character in this episode and how she was able to forgive her mom, and they started to develop the relationship between her and Wally and Joe. Continuing that from last week. I also liked seeing the Reverse Flash. He's an opposite of Zoom. That will actually kind of go into my negatives, but I think that's the things that I liked most. Let's talk about what we didn't like, and I'm going to do this first. I didn't like that we didn't get to see Zoom. I want more Zoom. I would have liked to have seen a Zoom Reverse Flash scene. That would have been really cool.
Just them two duking it out?
No, just them talking and like, oh, maybe we can work with each other, and through the future, whatever they got to do. I didn't like the fact that Barry just won't buck up and just tell Patty. He let probably what was the best thing in his life go. And I understand why, I do, but it just frustrates me because it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
If he would have just told her. I would love to have seen them as a couple, at least for a few more episodes. They probably would have killed her off, and they might still. I don't know, but All right, Wayne, your negatives.
I'm going to piggyback off what you just said. I hate how Barry was prolonging telling Patty until...
Never.
Yeah.
And she knows. That's the worst part, and he still won't manage.
She leaves, and he still doesn't tell her. That's one thing that irritates me.
Is there anything else?
And also, I wanted to see more Flash. I have a sickness. The only antidote is more Zoom.
Zoom. He meant Zoom, not Flash. Okay. So that is going to be it for this review of The Flash. We recommend if you haven't seen this episode, one, why are you watching this without watching it first? It's much better to watch it than to hear us talk about it. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, hit the like button. Also, if there's anything else you think we forgot to talk about or that you liked and didn't like that we didn't mention, put that down there in that comment section. I will also leave a link to our first review of last week's Flash episode if you want to go back and watch that. Twitter, the PlayStation Network. We have a Facebook account you can go to that I'll post videos up there. I'll put the link to all of those things down below. Again, thank you for watching, and I am Zach.
I'm Wayne.
This was the YoBro Gaming and Review. Subscribe to the channel. Right down there, that little red thing, hit it. You can receive notifications of every time we drop a video. Thank you. God bless America. And we'll see you all later. Peace!